What's up YouTube, and welcome to another draw along with me, where today we're going to go ahead and create this Space Invader design. Now there's a link to everything you're going to need in the requirements section of the description down below. The canvas size, the palette and any brushes that I've used, which you can enter 0 as the price for, but if you're feeling generous you can go ahead and donate should you wish, but otherwise they are free if you enter 0. If you didn't already know, I post 3 more tutorials every single month over on my Patreon. I'll leave a link down below as well if you're interested in coming and showing support over there. And with all that said, let's get started. So once you've created your canvas, the first thing we're going to do is go up to our layers, and we're going to need to change our background color from white to black by double tapping at the bottom of the disc here to select black and hit done when you are done. The next step is we need to go ahead and add in a drawing guide, so we can go ahead and add in our little Space Invader. So to do that, we're going to go up to our actions. We're going to go to canvas and we're going to go to drawing guide. So we're going to turn that on to start with, and then we need to edit the drawing guide to what we need. So we need the 2D grid for this one, but you'll notice you can't see it on the screen just yet. So you can slide across this slider at the top here to pick a color that you can visually see on the screen. So if you select white, you'll be able to nicely see it on the screen. And what we need to do is we need to change the grid size all the way up to 130. So you can actually tap on the actual grid little number there and type that in manually. So we're up to 130 pixels there, and the thickness and opacity is totally up to you based on if you can see it on the screen or not, and then hit done when you are done. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to very quickly just create a new layer above the one that's empty already. Just going to go to our brush library and we're going to go to sketching, and I just want to create a very quick and easy guide for you. So the brush there that I'm using under sketching is the Procreate pencil. And the color, we can just set that to white by double tapping in the top left hand corner of the disc. So what we need to do is we need to count 11 by 8 for our little grid. So we're going to go ahead and start just here. So you can see there's a very thin column of it. Then we've got a solid column of the grid. And then that's where we're going to put our little line. So we're just going to put a little line here. And we're going to go ahead and draw this across until we hit 11. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then hold your pen down and draw a perfectly horizontal line and then pop another line there. Now this is all temporary, we're going to get rid of this afterwards. It's just a guide as to what to draw in later. And then from here we're also going to go ahead and create another little line here. So we're going to draw in another line that's 8 high. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then hold your pen down. And then put a little dash at the top. So this is how we're going to go ahead and draw in our little Space Invader. And then what we also need to do is right in the middle of this line here, we're going to go ahead and put in a little dash. So we need to go ahead and make sure we're about 5.5 in. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then in the middle of this box here, we're just going to put a little dash, which lets us know that's our little center point because it's uneven. So now we can go ahead and get started on actually drawing in the Space Invader. So you've drawn in your little grid there. We can now go to our layers. We go down to empty layer 1 because there should still be an empty layer, and with white still select for a moment, we're going to go to our selection tool. We're going to go ahead and use the rectangle option, and we're going to use color fill. Now starting down here and this sort of as close to the line as you can, we're going to draw in a big rectangle until we fill up the whole space. So we're going to let go up in this top right corner here and let go, and then tap on your selection tool when you're done. Now we actually just need to change that to green, so we're actually going to go back to our colors and we're going to grab the top green here in our palette and drag and drop that onto that space, because now we can see our grid lines again. So now I've gone ahead and just quickly adjusted my grid so you'll be able to see what it is we're going to draw, because what we're actually going to do is we're going to start erasing from this box now things that we don't need. We're only going to do 1/2 so that we can then just copy and paste it and flip it horizontally so we can get it even on either side. So to start with, we're going to go up to our selection tool. We're going to use the rectangle option and we're going to turn off the color fill. We don't need that anymore. And then if we move up into the top left of our grid, and you can see it on the screen, we're going to start erasing from this area. So the first 2 blocks in the very top left hand corner, draw a box and then go onto the lines perfectly, and you're going to let go. And we've selected those 2, we can go back up to the layer, tap on the layer and clear it. Then we're going to go back to our selection tool and keep erasing what we don't need. The next line down, we're going to go 3 across. So we just need to go ahead and make sure we're on that line perfectly and go 3 across. And then we're going to let go. We're going to go back up to the layer, tap on the layer, and we're going to clear it. The next layer down is another 2, followed by a 1. So we're going to go to our selection tool, we're going to go ahead and erase into here, selecting these two blocks perfectly. Go to our layer, tap on the layer and go to clear. We're then going to go to our selection tool again and get rid of this one here. Go back to your layer, tap on the layer and clear it. So that is the top left hand corner all done. We're then going to go ahead and take a look down here for a moment. So we're going to go back to our selection tool, and in the very bottom row here we're going to grab these first three and we're going to erase them. So we're going to get rid of those three here, go up to our layer, tap on it and we're going to clear it. What we then need to do is get rid of this one and this one here. So we're going to go back to our selection tool, we're going to draw in our little block there, go back up to your layer, tap on the layer and clear it. Now at the top we're going to go back up to here for a moment. We're going to go ahead and we're going to leave this block on its own, and then we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So we're going to go to our selection tool. I'm going to zoom in for you on that top row. So leaving this block here on its own, we're just going to go ahead and draw in on the lines as best we can, and we're going to get rid of the top 5 here. So there we go, those 5 selected. Back up to your layer, tap on it and clear it. So that's the top half done. We can then go down to here. So our little center point here, the block above it, we need to get rid of this one here. So we're going to go to our selection tool, and just above our little midpoint, we're going to get rid of this. So we've got 2 to the left of it. And go back up to your layer, tap on it and clear it. In here, we need to get rid of the middle 5. So we're going to go to our selection tool again. We're going to grab from here, we're going to go across, and we're going to get rid of all of these 5 here. Then go to your layers, tap on the layer and clear it. There we go, we got rid of those 5. And now we just need to get rid of one of the eyes, which is actually this block here. So we're going to go up to our selection tool, and so it's not this one, but it's this one here. So we're just going to go ahead and just go into here, create a nice square as best you can onto those grid lines. Go to your layer, tap on it and use the option of clear. And then the only one we actually need to get rid of now is to go back to our selection tool. Just here where we had the 5 across the top, the middle 3, we just need to erase from those underneath. So we're just going to get rid of these 3 here. So just onto those lines, go back to the layer, tap on the layer and clear it. And there we go. That is the left hand side of our Space Invader all done. Now what we now need to do is we need to grab our selection tool again, and we're going to select the right hand side, but we're not going to do a perfect split. We just want to be slightly more to the right here, so just a little bit something like this. Then go up to your layer, tap on the layer and clear it, swipe the layer to the left and then duplicate it, then go back to your cursor and flip it horizontally. And then if you move this across and match it up to your guideline, so really there should just be one block here empty. That's all you need to try and sort of align really. And you can just tap away if you need to, just in certain areas, just to line it up. And then tap on your cursor when you're done. Go back up to your layers and pinch those 2 sides together. So literally pinch them together like so. And then you can go to the top layer, swipe it to the left and delete it, which was your little guidelines. And you can go up to your actions and you can turn off your drawing guide. And when you do that, you just need to zoom in and just check if you've got any little areas of excess like I do here. And the process is exactly the same. Grab your selection tool, select it as best you can up to the line, then go back up to your layer, tap on it and clear it. And there you go, you've got your little Space Invader ready to go. So now we can go ahead and make it 3D. So let's go to our cursor now. And what we're going to do is we're just going to first of all put it in the center again, but we're going to scale it down. So using the uniform option, I'm just going to scale this down in size just a little bit. So in height there, I've gone to 943. And then I'm just going to go ahead and grab the distort tool, and we're going to make it a bit more 3D. So we're going to grab this left node here in the middle and just move that up a little bit. That will give us a bit more perspective. And then we can just grab the top left node and just pinch that down and also bring it in a little bit. So this will flip it on its side a little bit more. And then here we can maybe just drag this node down a little bit more. Maybe even just bring this one a little bit higher. And then as soon as you're happy with your angle, which I'm just going to keep adjusting mine, I'm going to move the bottom there a little bit more as well and just increase the top node. That's the final shape I'm going to go for. So try and match your points as best you can to mine. And then tap on your cursor when you're done. The next step is to make it 3D, and to do that we're going to go to the layer and swipe it to the left and duplicate it. The top one out of the two for a moment, go up to your colours, and we're going to go ahead and grab this colour here at the bottom of our column in the first column and drag it onto the actual Space Invader into all the little spots. Then you're going to go to your layer, drag that darker layer underneath, grab your cursor and just move this down to the bottom right a little bit, such as this. And the bigger your gap is, the more sort of 3D effect on the side, but you don't want it to be too big. So if we tap on our cursor, you can now see I've created a little gap in between. Now this step here is what we're going to do is to link up all of these shapes correctly. For example, this right hand side here, there's no connecting line joining these 2 points together. So we need to manually do that. So we go up to our selection tool, we're going to use the freehand option, and we're going to use color fill. So now we're going to go ahead and zoom in and just simply tap on this corner here to this corner here, and then go underneath the object around here, and then tap on your starting point. Now you can see that those 2 points nicely link up. Now of course this point already links, so if I take a look up here, this point to this point, go around on the inside of the object, and there we go, we've got another joining up line. And then let's do the same all the way around our little Space Invader. So this particular step is going to take a little bit of time, but it's going to give us our cool 3D effect. And you can use this in lots of items, not just the Space Invader. You can use it in everything you use in Procreate if you want to make something nice and 3D. So just create another duplicate of the layer, and then from there you can then go ahead and link up with conjoining lines. Now here, for example, this line here would connect to here, but obviously this corner here would also connect to here. So we can fill this entire space in, so we can actually just go across here, and then fill that gap in, because then as you can see that would also be filled in. So that whole right side's now done. We can continue over the top and continue on with our little process. So point to point under the object and fill that in. And you can do this all in one go. You don't have to create separate layers as I'm doing now. And we're going to get point to point now on the undersides of everything. Now if we zoom out, that's the top area done. I'm going to continue around the outside. So I'm going to go down to the very bottom left here and join up all the points where there needs to be a conjoining line. That's all good here. We then get to here. So we're going to join up this line here. And there we go. Let's do the same here. And then get into this space. So we're just going to join up this point to this point. And this point here to this point, which should now be the entirety of the outside, other than this little block here. So again, this block here, where there's 2 corners meeting, we can go ahead and fill that in. Zooming out, that looks like it's every little spot that we need, and then you can simply tap on your selection tool when you're done. And now your object is nice and 3D. But you do need to separate different sides from one another. So the bottom side and the right hand side here are the 2 angles we can see, and we want to separate them. We don't want them to be the same color, because based on the lighting, certain areas will get more color than the other. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up to our layers and we're going to create a new layer above this one. We're going to tap on the layer and clipping mask it, so we're now clipped to the darker tone underneath. But we are now going to go up to our colors and we're going to switch it out for the darkest tone, the middle one in the first column. And then from there, we're going to go ahead and identify all the bottom areas. So we're going to go round again. And then what we're going to do is from this point here to this point here, and then all the way around, we're going to create another little object. So we're going to go up to our selection. We're going to continue as it was before and go point to point, and then go round the outside. Tap on our first point, and there you go. The underside now is actually a darker tone. So anything facing down. So we've done the arm here on the right. This doesn't need doing, nor does this, nor does this, nor does this. Except for this singular block here would have a shadow underneath it. So you go from this point here to this point. We can then go around a little bit more to here. And then go from that point to that point. And then link them up. And there we go. That little block now has a shadowed underside. So that's those 2 done. If we take a look at the eye, the inside of the eye needs doing. So we go from this point to this point. And then we can go around here, create a nice big loop and tap on your starting point. Let's move across to the other eye and do exactly the same. So this point to this point, and then go round and tap on your starting area. This block up here on its own again, we're going to do the underside, so I'm going to go from here and I'm just going to go around it because we don't need to be neat with this one other than just making it run through there nicely. If we zoom out again, you're starting to see the areas that have shadows underneath. This arm here on the left, we're going to go ahead and do the bottom area first, so this point straight through this point and then go round the bottom area here and tap on the starting point. And then this point to this point and go round. So what we're doing at this stage, should I say, is we're just separating the sides that we need to be separated. So I'm going to go around here, and then what we can do is we can fill in each area individually as it needs to be filled in. So once we start to look into this area here, this might look a little bit daunting, but what we're going to do is inside the mouth, we're going to take a look at this point to this point. We're going to go all the way across and go all the way around. It's quite easy actually, and then go right back to that starting point, and that whole underside is now done. We've then got this area here, so we're going to go from this point to this point, and then go around the bottom and tap on your starting area. Let's then go round. We've got this point again to this point. Go around the bottom area and tap on your starting point. We're then getting into the last two areas I believe that's left. So if you want to go from this point to here, and then go from there to here, and then run that diagonally across there and straight to this point. And finally this corner to this corner, and then all the way around. And if you zoom out and then tap on your selection tool when you're done, all your underside areas here that are facing down have now got a nice shadow, and look how 3D that already looks. So let's start adding in some cooler colors on each individual layer, and then we can work on the background area. So in our layers, we have the top layer, we have the darker underside, and then we have the right hand side as well. So for each layer, we're going to go ahead and add some different tones. So while we're still working on the bottom side, we're going to tap on it. We're going to alpha lock the layer, meaning we can only paint within it. We're going to go to our colors, and we're going to go ahead and grab the tone just to the right of it. So in the second column, the middle color, we're going to go to our brush. We're going to go to airbrushing and the soft brush. Reduce the brush size down. I think about 4% will do it. And if not smaller than that, let's go down to about 2 or 3. And then just on this bottom side here, we're going to add in a nice brighter tone. So a little something like this. And then just repeat that all the way around. So we're just going to fade that out on each layer. And then for here, for example, because it's a longer line, you can draw in a straight line if you want to, like so, and then just run it backwards and forwards, just to fade it out a little bit more, to add in some cool sort of backlighting here. So I'm going to work over here now, so we're just going to brighten up the bottom edge and then fade that up. Brighten up the bottom edge and fade that up. And because we're alpha locked, we can't paint outside this darker area, so it keeps things nice and tidy. We're going to do the same inside the eye here. And we're going to do the same underneath here as well. Working on this eye too. Let's just brighten that up. Let's brighten this area up too. And we're then mimicking the left hand side as well now, so brightening up these edges. And if you feel like you've gone too bright in certain areas, you can always go back and erase it. But that is a quick and easy run round of that little highlight on the bottom side. And that is actually everything we're going to do to that layer. That layer is done now. We can then go back to our layers, and we can go to the other green, which is the right hand side. So if we tap on this layer and we alpha lock it, we're going to go to our colors, and we're going to grab the color code for that one, which is this one here. So second column again, and it's just the color to the right hand side of it. So this one here at the bottom of the second column. And then just as you just did a second ago, we did the bottom edge, we're now going to do the right hand side. So we brighten up this right hand side. Now if you have an area like here, where as I'm painting, I may run into here, you can always at any time grab your selection tool and make sure color fill is turned off. And you can just simply draw around this shape, make a selection, and then use your brush. And then look, now I can't paint over here because we're only selected the area we want to paint in, which is just over here. And then tap on your selection tool when you're done, and now I can paint here. So again, we're just brightening up the edge and then fading that color up and around. So here too, brighten up on the inside of the eye and just fade that up. Brighten up the side of the arm here. Brighten up here as well. There's actually quite basic little highlights we're adding here, just brightening up these edges. Up and down the inside of this arm as well. The outside here is quite a long shape, so again we can just draw a straight line if we want to get a nice bright edge. So hold your pen down and just pivot the line and then just run the colour up and down. So anywhere that's that slightly middle green, not the darkest green, we're just adding that on the right hand side and blending that in. And there we go, we've added some more colour to the other side. Next we're going to work on the top, and to do that we're going to go ahead and add in a highlight that comes from the edges. Now we're not going to go all the way around the outside, because what we're going to do is we're going to go to our layers and go right to the top and create a new layer. We're going to change our colour and we're going to double tap in the top left hand corner to select white. We're then going to go back to our layers, and the actual main top layer here of our Space Invader, we're going to tap on it and use the option of select. Again, make sure colour fill is turned off. We're going to invert the selection, so we've now technically selected everything around the outside. Go back up to your layers, the empty layer at the top we made, tap on it and fill it. Now you'll see this appear. Now what we need to do for a second is we need to tap on the layer and then clipping mask it down. So there's all this white around the outside, but because it's not part of the object here, it's not showing because it's clipped. So we're going to go ahead and change the layer option from normal, and we're going to change it to overlay. We're going to go to our adjustments, Gaussian blur, and swipe from left to right. And then you'll start to just see, if I go quite drastic with it and bounce it, you can see the colour sort of blend in from the outside. So what we're doing is we're starting to add in a little bit of a highlight tone. And I want to just go up to something around about sort of 10 to 12%, if not slightly less, about 10 will be good. Then what you need to do is tap on your adjustments when you're done. Grab your cursor and move it down to the bottom right. So grab maybe uniform option just to be sure you don't distort it in any way, and move it down to the bottom right, because then what that'll do is that will just add our highlights on these left hand edges only. And then tap on your cursor when you're done. Then go back to your layer and swipe it to the left again and duplicate it, so we've got two. So this is going to really brighten up those edges. And then I think the top one out of the two, we can tap on the overlay and just lower that opacity down just a little bit. I'm going to drop it down to 60% there, so it's not quite so bright, but you still get that nice lighter tone coming from the left hand side. Now the next step is just to add in a nice sort of glow shimmer across the top here. So we're going to go up to our layers and we're going to create a new layer at the top for a minute on its own, and using white, and then going back to your selection tool and the rectangle option, and colour fill needs to be turned on. We're going to create a block such as this, and tap on your selection tool when you're done, and then tapping on your eraser and going to airbrushing and the soft brush. We need to make our brush size fairly large, maybe around about sort of 25%, and just erase this right hand edge until it's completely faint. So just blend that out so it's white here and blends all the way out eventually to nothing. Now you can go to your layer, tap on it and clipping mask it. Grab your cursor and just rotate that so it's nice and diagonal and just runs maybe sort of somewhat through the whole of our little Space Invader. So I'm going to add quite a diagonal sort of line running through mine, something like this. Tap on your selection tool when you're done, and then change its layer effect from normal and change that also to overlay. That'll just give it more of a green tone. And this is optional, it's totally up to you. You can go up to your adjustments, Gaussian blur, and you could just blur that out a little bit if you wanted to, just to say 5 or 6%, something like that, and that would just get rid of that line and make it a little bit more faint. But I quite like the sharpness of it. And then tap on your selection tool when you're done. So that's the shimmer done, and now we can simply go back up to our layers, and then going back to the base layer here of the object. So tap on it and alpha lock it, so our Space Invader is now alpha locked. We're just going to go to our colours, and we're going to grab the darkest tone here, the middle one. We're then going to go back to our brush library and under airbrushing and the soft brush, and then just increasing our brush size back up to maybe sort of 25%. Just ever so slightly, really lightly, just down here, just add in a slightly darker tone off to the right hand side here. So just blend that out towards the middle. And this will start to really emphasize those glowy edges around here. We don't want to make it too dark, this is too dark. But what I've got there is pretty much bang on, and that will give you that slightly darker hue over here compared to the brighter tone over there. And that's it, your Space Invader is now all done. We can go ahead and start to work on the scene in the background. So we're going to go up to our layers, and excluding obviously the background color, we're going to go ahead and swipe on all of the layers from left to right. And once you've selected all of them, we're just going to group them together. Now I'm grouping them just in case you ever want to make any changes to the actual Space Invader, but if you collapse your group down, swipe it to the left and duplicate it, and then the bottom one out the two, tap on it and flatten it. And then so what you can do is, if you wish, you could just tap on your original group and flatten it down and then duplicate it from there. But I've made a group so that I can go back in and adjust any layers. Now this layer here, the one that we duplicated and flattened, is alpha locked. We need to tap on it and turn off the alpha lock for a moment. And we need to start laying out our scene. So we're going to progressively get smaller and smaller Space Invaders as it goes backwards. So we're just going to use the uniform option here and just scale this down in size and start to create a scene. So I'm going to put one that's just going to sit here. Tap on my cursor when I'm done. And then before we progress, we're going to go up to our adjustments. We're going to go to hue, saturation and brightness, and we're going to change the color to anything we want. So I'm going to slide this slider from left to right, and we can create some really cool different variations. So I'm going to add in a nice bright, I'm going to add in a sort of red tone here. So you can adjust the hue, and you can also adjust the saturation as well. So if you want to, you can boost that up a little bit. You can also darken it down should you wish. So I've got a nice red one there, and I can tap on my adjustments when I'm done. We're then going to go to our layer and swipe that to the left and duplicate it. We're going to grab our cursor and progressively get smaller and smaller. So we're going to uniform this down. And I'm going to put another one down here. So I'm going to uniform this one down and create a bit of a gap. Tap on my cursor, go back to my adjustments, hue, saturation and brightness, and then adjust this again to another color. So I'm going to grab a nice purple color, I think, for this one. So a nice purple such as here. So I'm at 22%. I'm going to tap on my adjustments when I'm done. We need to add in roughly 2 more over here. So we're going to go back to the layer, swipe it to the left and duplicate it. Grab your cursor and then uniform that down. I'm going to push this one right up here, just into the background. I'm going to tap on my cursor when I'm done, and I'm going to go to hue, saturation and brightness again. And on this occasion, I think I'm going to try and find a nice yellow tone potentially. So we need to slide all the way through this. So the yellow is quite murky there, so I might need to brighten it up, such as like this, and then maybe increase the saturation to something like that, about 60, and then tap on my hue, saturation and brightness adjustment when I'm done. I'm going to add one more down here. So I'm going to go back to my layer, swipe it to the left and duplicate it. Grab my cursor and scale this down in size. Move this one down to say here, a little bit off to the back. Then go back up to my hue, saturation and brightness. I'm going to try and find a nice bluey tone in here. So I'm going to slide through the scale until I find sort of the blue area, such as there. And then adjust the colors as I see fit. So just mess around with those. This one's quite far back, so we don't want it to be too bright. But these are the settings I'm going to go for based on the yellow I had. And then tap on my adjustments when I'm done. Now what we need to do is we need to give the perspective that they are really far back, and this is nice front and center. So we need to add in Gaussian blurs that progressively get more and more blurred as they go backwards. So this one here, for example, this one here right in the back, we're going to go back to our adjustments and Gaussian blur. We're going to swipe from left to right, and we're really going to get rid of this. We're going to go up to something around about sort of 15%. And then tap on your adjustments when you're done, and then progressively get less and less as we get closer. So if we go to our layers and then go to the yellow one, which is the next one, we then go to our adjustments, Gaussian blur, and we swipe from left to right. Now we can't go any higher than 15, we need to go less than that. So I'm going to drop this one to roughly sort of about 11%, and then tap on my adjustments when I'm done. And then I'm going to go ahead and go back to my layers and go to the purple one. And I'm going to go back up to my adjustments, Gaussian blur. We can't go any higher than 12, so we just need to keep it lower than that. I'm going to go to roughly 8%, I think. And then tap on my adjustments. And then we're going to go to the red one. We're going to go to our adjustments, Gaussian blur, and we can't go any higher than 8. So I'm going to drop this one to maybe sort of 5%. It looks kind of blurry, but it's not taken away from this one. So 5%. Tap on your adjustments when you're done, and you can see they're nicely blurred out. But as they get further back, we also need to start lowering the opacity down of those layers too. So we're going to go to our layers. We're going to go on the red one we're still on, tap on the N value, which will bring up the opacity slider, and we're just going to lower that down, and we're going to drop this one to roughly 80%. We're then going to go to the next one up, which for me is the purple one. We're going to go to the N, lower the opacity down, and we're going to drop this one to roughly sort of 60%. Let's go to the yellow one, tap on the opacity and lower that one down. Now I don't want to go too low, so I'm going to go to 45 this time. And the blue one in the distance, I'm going to tap on the N for that layer and lower the opacity down, and we're going to drop this one down to 30. So now they get a lot more faint as they get further back. Now there's a couple of extra things we're going to do here to make this more of a fun full scene. We're going to go to our layers. We're going to go above the blue one, so the furthest one back, and just underneath our main little space invader there, and create a new layer. We're going to go up to our colours, and we're going to grab this colour here that's on its own, this sort of teal colour here. We've got our brush still set to the soft airbrushing, and we're going to go ahead and increase the brush size up to maybe sort of nearly 40%. And then in the top left, we're just going to slowly, in a circular motion, just build up some colour. So like there's a light source coming from up here. There we go, that already creates a much more dynamic scene. And then just in the bottom right, I'm going ever so slightly down here in the corner, nice and light, just sort of add in a little bit more colour down here. And there we go, we've created a really cool, fun light source there in the top left. But the thing that really makes this come to life is the nice cool bokeh effect that I've got as a brush for you. So you're going to need to go back up to your colours, and you're going to need to grab the first colour here in the top left of the palette. We're going to go to our layers, and we're going to create a new layer where we are currently. We're going to go to our brushes, and for you it should be either under imported if it's the singular brush, or you'll find a whole new category with the brush in. Now just as a disclosure, I had this brush a long time ago and I moved it into this area here, so I can't actually remember specifically where it will go. But once you have downloaded the collection, you're going to need to go ahead and use bokeh 6 here. It's got this really cool sort of hexagonal design in it. And the brush size is going to be set to about 40% there. Now it is a bit of a funny brush to use, I'm not going to lie. As you sort of draw, it's going to start to scale up and down, and it's quite a random spread, so you can't get too much control over it. What I do recommend is if you just keep making your way around and see if you can get some nice spreading with it, something like this. And then once you've got a good amount of coverage and you're happy with where they all drop, this is going to just act as sort of the background glow. So we're going to go ahead and then go back up to our adjustments, Gaussian blur, and swipe from left to right, and we don't want them to be too sort of visible, so I'm going to drop them to about 6% on the Gaussian blur there at the top. Tap on your adjustments when you're done. And then we just need to quickly go ahead and go up to our layers and create another new layer. We're going to change its layer effect straight away from normal to add. And then we're going to just make our brush size maybe a little bit bigger to say 60 or 55%. And then at this stage we're going to prioritize adding some more color towards the top left hand corner, and these ones here are not going to be blurred. So just keep doing it over and over until you're happy with it. You can always go back to the layer, tap on it and use the option of clear, and then that will just allow you to restart again. So just you want to try and prioritize some nice cool pixels up towards the top left hand corner here. So some nice big areas such as this, that looks pretty cool when you really drag one out. So some cool pixels here. And then let's add some more smaller ones maybe down here. These are the ones that are not going to be blurred out, so we don't want to cluster them too closely together until really you create something like that. We've got some really cool big ones there up in the top left, and then I can add some nice smaller ones there as well. So once you're done, pinch with 2 fingers and go full screen with 4, and you end up with today's finished design. So if you enjoyed today's tutorial, please drop a like down below, helps the channel out an awful lot. And if you're new here, I post Procreate content every single week, so hit that subscribe button. And if you want even more tutorials from me, I post 3 more every single month over on my Patreon. There's a link in the description down below so you can come and show support, get your name featured in videos, sneak peeks of upcoming designs and much more. So hit the link down below. And if you're interested in today's equipment, I'm using the Sketchboard Pro that you can always use code JoelCreate to get yourself a nice 10% off of. The Ghost Paper screen cover by Upper, the little grip as well by Upper, and the Pen Tips glove. So hit the link in the description down below for any of the equipment. And with all that said, I'll see you in the next one.